Dive into the heart of Cleveland's business community with the Cleveland Burning Podcast. Join me, Kim Kitchen, owner of Burning River Marketing, and Kirk Tietz, owner of Cleveland Custom Coatings, as we explore the untold stories of local business owners. In this engaging series, we focus on the setbacks, accidents, and unexpected turns that pave the way for ultimate success. So just like the Cuyahoga River ignited change in the city, our podcast showcases how adversity can spark innovation and growth. Hear from passionate entrepreneurs who have braved the flames of failure and emerged stronger and more resilient. Get ready for candid conversations and a behind-the-scenes look at the business landscape in Cleveland. What's up, Kirk?
Well, it's Christmas.
Yep.
We're finally past the Christmas time. I'll tell you a couple things. One is I had to go Christmas shopping the day before.
Ooh.
Christmas Eve. There's like barely anything on the shelves. People were like fighting, screaming, pushing everyone over.
Yep.
But I got everything I wanted.
Okay.
You know what I mean? A couple people got sacrificed, but I got everything I wanted. Hey,
Okay.
all I'm saying is I actually got a pet. I got, fake rocks.
Yeah.
I got somebody giving you hide your key in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that for Christmas. It's stupid. It doesn't even work.
What do you mean?
It leaves a big lump under my doormat.
Key under the rock, under the doormat. Okay. Yeah, keep doing that. So, welcome to the Cleveland Burning Podcast, where we dive into stories of local professionals who've braved the flames of adversity and emerged stronger than ever. I'm your host, Kim Kitchen.
And I'm Kirk Tietz. And today we're interviewing Tyese Love with the Dalad Group. She does property management. I'm actually linked up with her on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. And it looked like she had been in New York and a few other places. I messaged out to her to see if there was any chance that she wanted some painting work. She invited us down to go look at a couple of buildings. They had 2 buildings downtown that we looked at and one on Fulton. And I absolutely love these buildings. Like, in all honesty, it was fun just to go walk the building with her, just to look at the artwork. Mm-hmm. All the buildings seem to have like the old, like brick, the old construction ceilings, along with, brand new drywall, brand new doors, state of the art, kitchens and stuff. And so it's like you're not like looking at an old building, you're not looking at a new building, you're looking at a mix of the two. And I'm be honest, I totally enjoyed it. I took a manual with me. He went and looked, and I called him afterwards and I said, I'm gonna be honest, that was the most fun I've had, like, honestly, looking at a job. And I've been doing this for a long time. She's very super, super nice person. Really enjoyed her company. She took the time to not like rushed you off. Here's what I want painted. See you later. Right. Walked us through the building and gave us some history of the company and everything. So by the time it was done, I felt, why not invite her to come in? She's got plenty of experience. She's been all over the country doing this. And I mean, luckily enough, she accepted, and here she is.
Yeah,
so.
I can't wait to hear more. I don't know really what a property manager even does. So how long have you been doing it? Tell us about the Dalad Group and your history.
Well, Dalad Group is my current position, and I actually started property management when I got out of college. I actually needed a job when I was living with my ex, and I didn't know what to do. I went into our office for another reason, apartment stuff, and I was like, do you get like free apartments, or is there some type of incentive to work in the office here? And she's like, yeah, you get a discount. And I was like, well, are you hiring? And she was like, yeah, we actually are. And she gave me some information, and I applied, and they trained me up, and I've been doing it now for like 7 years.
Cool.
And I've been, so obviously it started in Dallas, and my ex, his job moved us quite a bit. So we moved to New Jersey after that, and I really took off in New Jersey. And in New Jersey, the company that I was with kind of taught me the ropes. I think Dallas and some of the other states they're a little bit slower at that time as far as like multifamily living.
Okay.
There's different aspects to property management. There's single houses that you can manage. There's just like a few units here and there, and then there's multifamily, which you have like over 200 units, sometimes over 500 units.
Wow.
And then there's multiple buildings, which I have here in Cleveland. So when it comes to property management, being in New Jersey and New York, I learned everything from ground up. I was a leasing agent first, and I was a leasing agent for 4 or 5 years.
So what does a leasing agent do?
Leasing agents are pretty much the people that you meet when you come in and you're like, hey, I need an apartment.
Right. They give you the paperwork and
Yeah.
you
They give you the paperwork. They show you the apartment. Probably why you had so much fun with me, because
She's so
that's
experienced,
my
yeah.
ground.
Right.
It's my job to sell you the place.
Okay.
So I would take people on their tour, show them the apartment, show them the building, all of that, all its glory. And I've been working in luxury buildings since I was in New Jersey. In Dallas, I was in like your B plus, C plus, which is just, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles.
Okay.
So, in New York and New Jersey, I lived in those buildings that I worked for. So it was like, I loved it. It was easy to sell it. And so as a leasing agent, you learn a lot. And then I had two amazing people above me. I had my assistant manager and my property manager at that time who kind of taught me everything I needed to know as far as handling different people, handling different personalities, handling different aspects of the job itself. And that's what kind of took off from there is in my career.
Is that when you decided, is this what you're going to do for the rest of your life, do you think?
Yes, and when you see the numbers that come out of all of that, yes.
Wow.
You get commission based on the apartments that you lease. So every apartment that I would lease, I was the only leasing agent for that building at the time, and I would get a nice commission. I paid for a lot of things, and then I wanted to move up because, of course, you get more money and commission, and then you just learn a different part of the business. And I started to learn more about the different positions in property management and how much you actually do. And then I ended up having to move, and we were in Pennsylvania, and that's when I started to work for one of the largest property management companies in the world. Third party management, should I say. And that's when I had to get my real estate license, because you are third party management. You have to have your license to represent the owner.
Okay.
And I kind of learned from there real estate all in all, and how much money is in real estate, and learning it for myself so that possibly one day I'll take off on my own.
Right.
So it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
It sounds like you're really good at what you do.
I think too that you mentioned one thing is that you loved it, and I find that when you love what you do, it's easy to do it. Right. That vibration goes out to others. I love what I do, and when I go look at places, I'm not looking at them for the dollar amount. I'm looking at them for the relationship and the building and the appreciation of the work that I do, and that I want to reciprocate that back and forth with the people that I work for. That's why still I have a pretty small select. But I think that's the key to that success when you're selling stuff, is that love that you have for what you're doing is important for success.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Well, and I was telling you before we got started that, in our BNI chapter, this business networking thing that we do, everybody wants to be introduced to property managers, right? Like the flooring guy wants to be introduced to a property manager. The commercial cleaner wants to get introduced to a property manager.
Painter.
The painter wants to be introduced to property managers. So I would imagine as a property manager, you must have to deal with a lot of vendors. And how do you even decide, Like, are you just getting harassed all the time by people like Kirk, like 24/7?
My LinkedIn is full of messages.
Okay.
And more so from New York because a lot of people think that I'm still in New York because I
Right.
haven't really updated too much. But yes, a lot. You have to deal with vendors. You have to deal with, especially when I had my last property I was at in New York was 597 units.
Okay.
So I had to manage a team of 20 people and then your vendors and then the city and the fire marshal and everything else you can think
Wow.
of that goes into a permit, that goes into permission to do anything that you want to do to a building. And then you have the inside where I had concierge, I had my leasing agents, HR issues, it's everything you can think of. A property manager is a mini owner.
Yeah.
That's basically where we own the building without
Owning the building. Yeah.
collecting the money for
Right.
it.
Sure.
So it can be very challenging, but rewarding because you get to when you meet the people that you meet. For instance, residents, you get to see their homes. You get to see the person that they are. You get to see them grow into their families, break up in their families, the drama,
Oh, wow.
a lot of different
They should have a TV
aspects.
series. It's just like about property
Absolutely.
management. I mean, it sounds like you deal with so much.
Yes.
Legal issues, the
Yes.
drama.
Yes, legal issues, let me tell you. Yeah, a lot, especially through COVID. Like that was another ball game. It's a lot to handle. When it comes to vendors, it's more so, especially that's how I met Kirk. The thing that I look for is in a vendor is reliability and knowing that I can count on you. I can call you anytime. Um, I can depend on you to be there at the drop of a dime because I have to be there at a drop of a dime for the resident. So when it comes to these apartments, everybody forgets sometimes that I'm dealing with someone's home.
Right.
They live there 24/7, even though commercial spaces, they go there, they go to work. And then they're like, the water is leaking and it's fine because I'm not living there. You talk about someone's home, they are in there, the water is leaking. They want you in there right now figuring it out, or
Yeah.
their heat is out. I can't leave them without heat. So I have to have vendors who are very, very reliable and easy to work with.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, the theme of our podcast is, and it sounds like you have so many experiences that, you've been doing this for, what did you say, 7 years now? And you're talking about hundreds of units like all the time. So I'm sure that you've experienced a ton of things. So
Yes.
have there been any failures or missteps or any time that you thought things in your career were like a train wreck or you were dealing with some things you'd rather not be dealing with that have over time contributed to your success?
Yes. More recently, property management, as I said, can be very challenging. I had my son last December, and last year I actually got promoted into property manager. I was
Okay.
assistant then, and in my promotion, I had to fire a lot of people.
Ooh.
And so letting go a lot of those people, and then some of my employees that I had hired prior to me being promoted, they went on in their career. That's the thing that you want to see. You want to see employees move up and keep going in their career. And so I lost pretty much all of my team.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
only me, two leasing agents, and one maintenance guy for 597 units. Which
Oh.
typically it's one person per 100 units.
Right.
So, and that's maintenance and leasing staff. So Yes, it was very
This
challenging.
is while you were pregnant?
This
Like,
is while I was pregnant.
fun
Yeah.
times.
Yes. So, and no one knew for a very long time, few months, I held out the information about
Sure.
being pregnant.
Right.
So I'm stressed and going off on
Throwing
people,
up
and they
or
have
like, yeah,
no idea
hormones
why.
everywhere for sure. And it's
Um,
probably like during a period because, you know, of COVID that people, it's been hard to find workers,
Yes.
right? So your whole
Very
staff
hard.
is gone. You're pregnant. You've got 597 units and it's just you, and a maintenance person, and a leasing agent. Wow. So what happened?
Did your
Yeah.
phone ever stop ringing?
No, no, it did not. And part of that, when you're saying my phone ringing, it's both upper management telling me I need to fix these problems, my residents yelling at me because nothing's working, because I have no staff to fix it, and my leasing agents stressed out because they're being stretched and not paid for
Right.
it. And then finding someone to replace my own position. Obviously, coming out of COVID, you have tons of people in debt on their rent, especially in New York. We didn't end the emergency funds until January of this year. So I wasn't able to even evict anyone until this year. And with all of that, I got stressed out and I didn't want to do it anymore. Um, I, I quit that job,
Okay.
and that's when I went back to the company I was working for in Pennsylvania, and thinking that they are the largest and they had all of these buildings across New York City. I was a floating manager, and it gave me a little bit of a break. I was able to float and go to different buildings and help out. I wasn't necessarily responsible for a team anymore. And I actually got laid off.
Oh, man.
They couldn't afford the team that I was on anymore, and they laid us all off. I got a phone call, just, hey, we can't do it anymore, and we gotta let you go. I was paying for an apartment, a nice $3,500,
Wow.
and I didn't know how to pay for it anymore. So, and I didn't want to live in New York anymore because I had my son. My back went out completely. Don't know how or what happened, but I had two bulging discs. And my sister was there, and my brother was there for a month just visiting. And they were thankfully there to help me. And I decided to come home. I decided to come to Cleveland. And in the midst of me trying to come home, I looked for a job and looked and looked and looked. I wasn't finding anything. It was very difficult to find something that will pay me as much as I was making in New York. I knew that wasn't going to
Right.
happen,
Yeah.
but at least get close to something that would sustain what I was already paying for. And then also just a beautiful building. I was not used to something old.
Yeah.
I did not want to work for anything like that. I wanted to work in something amazing and gorgeous as I was seeing in New York. And I came across Tenderman Lofts and Worthington Yards, which is with Dalad Group, and I saw that they were hiring. What I do is I usually look for the apartment first, like I'm looking for my own place,
Right.
and I find the management companies. And I looked into the management company and I applied, and they called me, and I said, "Great, I'm coming." They hired me.
That's great.
So I came on, and it was working out. I probably should have took a little more time. I only got like a few weeks off before I started, but I had to move home, which was a lot of money because I had to move my whole apartment
Right.
and come home. I moved in with family, and it was rough because I had my baby, I had myself, I had to figure it out with work, and I had to get my license here. I'm still in the process of getting my license. The process here is a little bit longer. It's 120 hours.
So
that
you have to start that all
finish.
over.
You have to,
There's none of your continuing education or any of the stuff that you got in another state. It doesn't transfer over to Ohio.
no, so only certain states are reciprocal to certain states.
Okay.
And ironically, Ohio and New York all have the same reciprocal states, but are not reciprocal to each other.
That is ironic.
It's
The-
It was just my luck, so it's fine. I'm still licensed in New York, and I hopefully will get my license here soon. And thankfully, uh, I took a lower pay, but the person who was over me before, she ended up quitting and moving on in her career, and I was asked to step up.
oh,
Yes.
wow. Is this
So,
recent?
yes.
Congrats.
Yes, thank you.
Did you take the step up?
I did take the
Okay.
step up. Step ups always mean more money, so
More responsibility.
more responsibility. But that's how I met Kirk.
Absolutely.
Because now I am back into my element of managing multiple units, managing multiple properties, and I'm able to meet vendors again and bring in what I know from New York and managing so much because before I was just at just this one property that they had me at, and it was smaller, and I
Right.
was just bored and
Yeah.
just sitting there and
You need the
thinking,
chaos. You
yeah,
want some more
I
stuff
need a little
happening. Yeah.
chaos. And if I get bored, I start to think about, well, what else can I do? And start
That's
thinking about
dangerous.
refinishing floors and I don't know, different projects that I shouldn't be doing. But yeah, that was my downfall. It was a lesson learned about companies and how much they actually care, or can care about you. And this one actually, the owner I see him every day.
Right.
It's smaller. They're just starting out. They only have a few residential properties. And because I have all of this experience in residential, they have asked me to take on all of their residential to bring them up to where they need to be and keep them going. They are beautiful properties. So I hope I can keep doing that.
It sounds awesome. Is the money kind of more in line with what you kind of need? I mean, the cost of living in Ohio is a lot lower than it is in New
Right.
York.
A little bit,
So
yeah,
you can
yeah,
you
yeah.
can stretch like a
third.
$70,000, almost as much as you could be 300,000 in New York, right? So I
Yeah.
mean you
It's
can
about a third.
yeah, that's
It
right.
is. No, it really
Yeah,
is.
I know. It's getting up there though. The
Yeah.
apartments that I have, well, the ones that you guys saw, are only like 1,000 less than
Really?
what I was in, or in the not in the city per se, but more so like the outskirts of the city of New York.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's getting up there. But yeah, it's in line. I haven't seen the numbers just yet because I have to get my license, but we're hoping. We're in
Yeah.
hope.
That's crazy. I mean, everything that you went through, all that. I mean, I'm surprised that you stuck with it. Honestly, that's quite a testament to loving the industry that you're in, and I'm glad that you found a company that you're likely gonna stick with because you're obviously you enjoy what you do.
Yeah, I do. I do. Hmm.
That's a good thing. I was in New York actually. It was a couple of years ago now. I went there and painted a Walgreens. It was a drugstore. I can't remember which one it was. We do CVS, Walgreens, all them things. So I mean, I couldn't believe the price of just buying. Like parking was $30 an hour.
Yeah.
Like you can, like even on game day down here, they don't charge $30 to park. So it was just stuff like that. Like I was like, oh, I'm gonna go into Manhattan. I'm gonna park. I'm gonna go get a pizza and everything else. Well, you're not parking, right? Or you're gonna cost you an arm and a leg. It was just unbelievable to just even drive through Manhattan. I don't know if you ever have.
I haven't.
No.
I would have no intentions. I mean, we were just talking about the ball dropping. What I think about New York City.
Right.
All
It's
those
a great
people, like, so I
place.
don't even like going to Browns games. I'm not like a crowd type of person. I don't know what that is in me. I mean, I'm from Maine, so I grew up in kind of like a rural area. We don't really have professional sports teams unless you go to New England. So I don't go to, and as far as concerts, people didn't come to Maine. So I'm not really comfortable in crowds. Like, I mean, I don't like freeze up or anything, but it's like,
It's not
imagine
fun.
being put into a pit of snakes, right? I mean, it's really easy to say, like, well, all snakes aren't bad. You're not going to get eaten alive, right? But, like, for me, that's kind of how I feel. It's like, well, there's some bad ones out here, and there's so many of them that I would just rather not be, I would just don't want to be it. So for me in New York, I'm not a fan. But that's just me. I'd rather be in the woods by myself. And I know that creeps a lot of people out, but not me. Like, I mean,
Yeah, if I broke down in the woods, I would not. I'm not sure what I'd do, but I certainly wouldn't go up to somebody's house. Like I'm not. Like
I'd be fine.
I've seen too many of those movies before.
Yeah, no, I'd be fine. So, so talking about crazy stories, I mean, as a property manager, I'm sure you've seen and heard all. Is there anything that you can share that is just like something we would never think of?
So there's one day, and let me just explain the building a
Yeah.
little bit. While I was in New York, New York is probably the craziest ones that I'll have. The building has a front driveway that you can just kind of pull through if there's like Uber Eats or you're dropping off someone
Okay.
or just a little driveway. And then we do not allow people to park there.
Okay.
And so anytime someone would park there, I would tow
Come
them.
out. Yeah. Okay.
Now, my apartment at the time was facing that driveway. So I could see it all night, all day. And if I saw somebody there for more than 15 minutes, I'm calling the tow company. So I wake up one morning and I look out the window. The full driveway is packed with cars. But then I look on the street and it was packed with cars as well. And I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
So I think about it and I said, you know what, let me get dressed and go downstairs, see what the concierge is doing. The concierge was 24/7.
Okay.
I go downstairs. I also noticed that I missed like a few calls from the front desk. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on?
Right.
So I get down there and I'm like, what's happening? And they're like, the FBI is here. I
Oh.
said, what? Because all the cars were like SUVs and
Oh yeah.
I didn't see any cop cars at first. It's like the crack of dawn. So I wasn't really awake. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, they're in the penthouse unit. I said, oh my God, what is going on? So you can't really do anything while the police is there. You can ask a few questions, but you can't really ask questions. And so we just hope that we make friends and they tell us anyways.
Yeah.
So I just wait in the office because why not? They're going to have to ask me something.
Right.
And they had to bust down the door. They literally went up there 6 a.m. in the morning, did the whole like boom.
Yeah.
Like the 1, 2, 3 boom. Broke down the door and got this guy for pornography.
Oh no.
Yes. Sad story. Once I actually read the court documents, it was absolutely terrible. But the story of like telling everyone, yeah, the FBI is here, and they were upstairs and they
Oh,
raided this
sure.
guy's apartment, and I had to like help them and tell them like, yeah, he's doing this, and what have you seen? I had to run the cameras back. I had to say if I've ever seen like children there.
Right.
And it was pretty cool.
That's
I
crazy.
love these stories, so
Yeah.
I live for it.
Now, is it gossipy like in the building? Are people, I mean, because I'm sure everyone
My
saw.
God.
Oh my
Yes.
God, yes.
Yes. So you get to know, like, I've met a lot of people too. Like, I get to meet, like, YouTubers, famous YouTubers that probably a lot of people know about. I've met some ball players. The building that I was in, actually, they hosted the Knicks because the Knicks practice field was in White Plains.
Okay.
So I was able to meet them and interact with some of them, the
It's
coaches.
like a celebrity job.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. The hockey coaches and the drama, though, between all the residents, fights between residents. I've had to I was in between one of them because one of them was really nice, and I tried to calm him down to say, like, don't get into this because then I'll have to call the cops, and we don't really want to go there.
The cops on you.
I don't really want to do this. But yeah, there was one neighbor who knocked on his neighbor below, and he knocked because he heard the guy basically beating on the woman.
Oh no.
And they had a kid there, and to be honest, they were beating on each other.
Right.
But they was making a lot of noise in the middle of the night, and he was tired of it. And so they got into an argument and brought it into the main lobby. And that was a thing I had to call the cops for. My concierge would not go get a package for a resident. And while I was pregnant, they got into a fight, a full-blown fight.
Oh, man.
In my lobby and in front of my building. And of course, I ran the camera back and watched the whole thing.
Right.
But these are the things that property managers have to deal with. And then you have to deal with all of the other nosy residents who want to know everything that's happening. But I wish people would understand, like, I cannot share information and I won't share the information. And it's none of your business. Go home.
Yeah.
Go home and stay in your house. And then they talk about, like, oh, well, it's not safe. If you stay in your house, it will be.
Right. Yeah. Just go in, close the door, forget this ever happened. Watch Only Murders in the Building.
Right.
It's like the only show that
Fear thy neighbor.
Yeah. So we usually like to leave on a fun note, like give you a platform if there's something that you want to promote or there's something exciting going on in any of your buildings, or what would you like to share with us? How can we help you in any way, or our audience?
Yeah, I mean, the buildings that I manage are tenement lofts, Worthington Yards, and Hat Factory. And Cloak Factory is more condos, but sometimes those go on sale, and those are great buildings. Both Tenement Lofts and Worthington Yards, we always host art shows, and you can actually obtain tickets. Liz is our art curator, so if anyone ever wanted information about it, you're welcome to stop in and ask us about it if you're looking for an apartment.
Okay.
Of course, these buildings, they always have availabilities. There's always something coming up for somebody, and someone's moving, so they're very reasonably priced for the quality and product that you're receiving. So I would think that
That's cool.
I would live in the buildings if I didn't have a dog and a son and need space. So yeah.
Right. So we'll make sure to put links in the description to any of the buildings that you want us to kind of promote, and maybe even contact for Liz. I don't know how many of our listeners are art connoisseurs, but you never know.
You never
right?
No,
know.
these buildings are cool. They're really cool.
Yeah, they are. The last big art show that I went to, the mayor was actually there.
Oh, cool.
And it was huge. It was amazing. Different artwork. It was DJ. It was music. It's different events. So they're amazing.
Yeah. It sounds like a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, I loved hearing your story. I mean, you've been through a lot, and I didn't know so much about the property management industry, so it's really interesting. And we hope our listeners are as inspired by these lessons that you've learned by experiencing some failures that we were. So, I like to have a quote. I've been adding this lately because Kirk usually starts off with a joke, and so I'm going to try to bring a quote about failure. So I picked Ellen DeGeneres for this episode, and she said, "When you take risks, you learn that there will be times when you succeed, and there will be times when you fail, and both are equally important." Did you want to share your quote with Ellen DeGeneres?
Well, if you want to,
Yeah.
never follow anyone else's path. Unless you're lost in the wilderness and you find a path, then by all means, follow that path.
I like that one too. So don't forget to tune in for more interviews with local professionals as we continue to explore twists and turns that lead to triumph in the world of business. If you enjoyed today's episode, and we hope you did, please subscribe and leave us a review to help us reach even more listeners. And until next time, remember that every train wreck can be a stepping stone to something extraordinary. And thanks for joining the Cleveland Burning Podcast. Thank you so much.
Thanks for
you.
coming. See you next time.